Hello everybody, I am Slow Rider, this is my world. Welcome to you all. How are you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Yeah. No match on today, that's alright. When there's matches on, this road's just a nightmare. Anyway. Today I thought I'd go through a subject which doesn't really affect motorbikes as such, or at least not for the time being. But it is something that's being put on in Europe and therefore it affects us. There is an EU directive coming out which means from next year new cars will have to be fitted with certain safety equipment to make the roads safer for all of us. It's a nice theory. Some of it, well, there's no problem with. I mean, there's a data recorder for recording data, obviously, of how you're driving. Some insurance companies insist on having that anyway, so I don't really see that that's a biggie. You've got drowsiness awareness systems and distraction warning systems, which apparently some cars have already got. Reversing sensors, which quite a few cars already have fitted as standard. But there's two things which I think are the most contentious. Intelligent speed assistance and a breathalyzer. Let's say at the moment this only applies to cars and vans and lorries and such like coming in next year, so it doesn't really affect motorbikes yet, but I'm going to stress the yet on that because I wouldn't be at all surprised if they do try and pin it on motorbikes as well at some point. The intelligent speed assistant is most people label as a speed limiter. It's not really. There are a number of reasons why it's not. Firstly, it won't actually limit your speed, it'll just try and persuade you not to go as fast as you are. The second is that it can be overridden by putting your foot down. And the third, and potentially most important, is that you can switch them off. Because it's only mandatory to have them fitted, it's not actually mandatory for them to be on. Although I suspect insurance companies will cotton onto that one pretty quickly. And I believe the same is true of the other systems. They're only mandatory to be fitted rather than mandatory to be used. So, as an example, you don't have to have a breathalyzer test every time you want to start the engine. And the reason they've said it's not mandatory at the moment is because they actually want people to accept that they're on the cars in the first place. So it's a soft mandatory. It will be mandatory soon enough. Of that you can bet. They'll say, oh, we've had this as a fitment on these cars and no one's had a problem with them yet, so we're going to go with full mandatory. And in principle I don't have a problem with the speed limiters, because you shouldn't be going over the speed limit, really. I know us bikers love going over the speed limit sometimes, but we really shouldn't. And cars are the same, you really shouldn't. So speed limiters shouldn't make any difference. Or, sorry, intelligent speed assistance shouldn't make any difference. But breathalyzers is a little bit different. And there are some people saying, oh, it's just a port that you have to have on the car fitted as standard to have a breathalyzer fitted, and some are saying, no, it's an actual breathalyzer fitted to the car. I don't know which one is actually true, I'm going to be honest with you. But there are problems. As a general rule, most non-police breathalyzers are 15 to 20% inaccurate. So just imagine now there's a 15 to 20% chance you won't be able to start the car if you have the breathalyzer activated. Part of that 15 to 20% is some medical conditions. Some medical conditions actually produce a false reading. Some prescription medicines have a false reading. And some over-the-counter medicines, you know, from a chemist, some of them can provide a false reading. And your car is not going to be interested in whether or not you can walk in a straight line. I realise some of the smart Alecs out there will be saying we're not in the EU. Well, there's two reasons why we need to be interested in this EU rule. One is that cars made for the British market are basically the same as those made for the EU and other European market, which means whether you wanted it fitted or not, it's going to be. And two is that because of Brexit, the UK government has basically said we're going to just follow EU laws for the most part. There are some we won't or can't, but for the most part we're just going to follow them. So if it's EU law, it's probably going to be UK law anyway. So yeah, it's going to affect us. And yes, it's not motorcycles yet, but again, this is the same yet. It won't affect us yet. If they can think of a way to fit them to motorcycles, I'm sure they will. And as mentioned, the other yet is that they're not mandatory yet. They're only mandatory to be fitted, not to be used. And that'll change. I have reservations about how the speed limiter thinks it will work because of reliance on technology, as well as the reliability of the technology. But the breathalyzer seems like a worse one to me. I mean, I understand what it is. They don't want people drink driving. That's fine. But they don't want people drink driving. Okay. But they need to get rid of all the problems that are inherent with breathalyzers before they can do that, I think. But if an EU law came in that said, or an EU directive came in that said that it was mandatory not only to be fitted but to be used, and it included motorbikes, how many here would be happy to have that? I'm relatively sure that most bikers would think it was utterly ludicrous. I think most car drivers would think it utterly ludicrous that you need to do a breathalyzer test before you can start the engine of a car. I get the idea behind it. I just don't like it. It's the same with the idea of fitting trackers to bikes as standard. There's mutterings of that. Well, it might be more than mutterings. In principle, I quite like the idea of trackers being fitted as standard. I would be somewhat worried about who's actually doing the monitoring. If this is it's fitted but it's up to you to use it, then well, that's fair enough. Some motorbike manufacturers have been offering trackers fitted to their new bikes for next to nothing. For Honda, it's a subscription service, but the fact that they do it is a good thing. The one they fit is several £100 to have fitted. Is that the better way to go, though? To say that it's mandatory to be fitted but not necessarily to be used? For trackers it makes sense. For breathalyzers and speed limiters it really doesn't. The only reason to have them is for them to be switched on. And the only people who wouldn't want them switched on are the people who would benefit from having them on. I use the word benefit loosely, obviously. Yeah, I agree with the principles of them as such. I think they're doing it badly. Would you want any of that stuff fitted to your bike? Would you use it if it was mandatory fitted and an option? Let me know. Interested to hear your thoughts. And with that, I shall leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you have a good one. I'll see you in the next video. Be good, humans. Ta-ta for now.